week and you caught the ball. Good for you.
Did he travel out of state for vacation?
Yes, he went to Mexico to an all-inclusive resort.
Yeah, we're done. I'm over it. It's too much. Too much.
Primetime Sports, weeknights, 6:30 to 8.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM. Fargo-Moorhead.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our wonderful, talented Ag Director, Bridgette Readel, and we finally have Wonder Boy meteorologist Justin Storm back in the fold. You better have caught up on your sleep the last few days.
No, absolutely not.
that was the whole point, buddy. That was the whole point.
I think I better take the next 3 days off, too.
Tell
you
what,
guys can hold the fort down, right?
Tell you what, after the day after tomorrow, you can have 2 days off after that. How's that?
I will take you up on that.
Okay, that's a deal. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure you've heard of a thunderstorm hangover where thunderstorms are rolling all night and you just can't get any sleep. Got a blizzard hangover this morning because I'll tell you what, with 60-plus mile-an-hour winds, the trees were just rattling against the house, and I got zero sleep last night. I don't know about you guys. Bridgette, I know it wasn't near as windy where you're at as we had here in the valley. It was just absolutely nasty last night.
Nope, I'm in Indianapolis, and it is windy here, but not like it was last night in blizzard conditions. Lots of vehicles stalled on the road, it sounds like.
Yeah, lots in the ditch. Just Clay County in itself had over 30 vehicles in the ditch this morning. It was just, that just goes to show you, you don't have to have a lot of snow to get a blizzard. We had just around an inch, and you factor in 60-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts with that. That's not far from hurricane force winds, definitely tropical storm force winds. So now you know what it's like to be in a tropical storm, except in the middle of winter with the continuous strong winds. Thankfully, we're seeing improving conditions and getting a break now with sunshine returning. Still breezy, still a little blowing snow in open areas, but a much improved compared to this morning. So if you have any travel plans, it looks like you should be good to go by later this afternoon, as most roads are improving. Still slippery, don't get me wrong, especially in the outlying areas, but within the city limits here, it's looking much better than it did just 6 hours ago. It was just an absolute mess.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it really was.
And now we're starting to go into the last part of cycle 3 in our LRC cycle, and that means the back end of every cycle so far has been stormy. And I don't mean Justin stormy. I mean stormy as in moisture, precip, snow, rain, you name it. And that's back in the forecast as we head into next week. So we get a little break, but we don't get a big long break.
Yeah, it looks like we got a couple more chances for some systems passing through as we head through the back half of February, and then we'll go into cycle 4 into March. And if you've been following along with our LRC calendar on our website at WDAYradio.com, well, looks like they're basically lining up almost on those circles exactly, maybe off by about a day here or there on a couple of them. But for the most part, they're lining up pretty good. So we're just going to keep tracking them as they get closer. And it does look like there could be another sizable one at the end of next week. So something to keep an eye on closely.
Bridgette, you're not traveling late next week, are you? Please say no.
No, I'm actually not. So we should be okay.
What?
Okay, good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a first.
Well, that basically means we're in the clear then. We don't need to worry about the weather.
Yeah, we don't need to use the LRC cycle. We'll just use the Bridgette travel calendar cycle. There we go.
Accurate.
Well, we're going to have to break away here for a little bit. We have to pay some bills. When we come back, we'll hit on a couple of ag topics, and we'll go a little more in depth on the forecast as well. All of that coming up here shortly.
From ABC News, I'm Derek Dennis. Anger and pain and a lunging in a Buffalo courtroom. A family member of a victim in the city's supermarket shooting last year had to be restrained from attacking the killer, Peyton Gendron. He's being sentenced today. Barbara Massey's outrage echoed through the room.
This was unnecessary. You leave 200 miles to come to Buffalo. You don't even know any black people.
Gendron facing mandatory life in prison. A vigil tonight at Michigan State University for the young bright victims in Monday's campus shooting.
Sophomore Brian Frazier, president of his fraternity. Junior Alexandria Verner, an athlete known for her kindness. And junior Ariel Diamond Anderson, who wanted to be a surgeon. Her heartbroken family speaking out.
We want the senseless killing to stop.
5 other students hospitalized in critical condition.
ABC's Alex Perez. Class is canceled till Monday. The presidential campaign starts today for former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She's in South Carolina, where she was once governor, running now for the Republican nomination against her old boss, former President Trump. A town hall meeting tonight near the site of that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Residents complaining the toxic chemicals on board and the controlled burn to get rid of them is causing hundreds of fish, chickens, and cats to die.
They're scared. They're confused. They've been giving misinformation. They don't trust the information that's coming in.
That's environmental activist Erin Brockovich. She's now involved. The FAA now looking into several recent airline close calls. One mid-air scare in December involved a United flight from Maui to San Francisco that nosedived more than 1,400 feet in 20 seconds, nearly plunging into the Pacific. And another scare just recently, a United Boeing 777 and a Cessna in Honolulu came within 1,100 feet of each other on a runway. You're listening to ABC News.
In 2016, in the midst of a combative presidential election, a dangerous militia group was forming in a small city in Kansas, and they had a dangerous mission. They were plotting an attack, one that could have killed hundreds if it hadn't been stopped. I'm Dick Lear. I'm a journalist who dug deep to figure out how this attack was thwarted, and it led me to one man, Dan Day.
I truly believe that God put me there at the right time.
He became an informant for the FBI and risked everything to do what he thought was right.
Ask yourself, would you be willing to do what he did?
Truth and Lies, The Informant, a 5-part series from ABC Audio. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Kayla with Sanctuary and Riverhaven Event Centers, and I'm here to tell you why I chose 702 Communications for all of our managed services, phone, internet, and security cameras. At our event center, we have hundreds of people coming into our business weekly, and it's so important for us to have cameras that we can rely on. We reached out to 702 so that they could give us a quote for installing brand new cameras in all areas of our building, and now we have 26 cameras so that we know every part of our building is under surveillance and we're secure. We've had cameras in our business for a while, but we reached out to 702 because we were having issues. A lot of them weren't working all the time. So 702 was able to come in, give us a solution, fix everything, install all brand new cameras, and now we know we've got better audio, better quality, and we have an app that we use that has full surveillance 24 hours a day for us to pull up and know exactly what's going on. As a business owner, that peace of mind is invaluable.
If you want more peace of mind for your business that's invaluable, call 702 Communications right now at 218-250-8700. Again, 218-250-8700. Call now because peace of mind is priceless.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 111 on this afternoon, 7 degrees outside of Fargo, and those windy conditions finally starting to relax just a bit. Winds sustained at 16 miles an hour out of the northwest. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. You are again listening to Weather and Ag in Focus, or you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, as well as Acres TV. Now, before we went to ABC News, we were kind of touching on the LRC and the forecast just a little bit. And before we get into a couple of ag topics, Dean, what does that forecast look like, and when is our next chances for some possible snowfall around the area?
Well, Justin, we got a break in the action right now as we're going to see a slight shift of the pattern. We're going to see, kind of a northwest flow, which brings us a few clippers from time to time, but also some more tranquil weather, at least in the short term here. So after a cold day today and tomorrow, will turn breezy again as winds kick up out of the south for Friday. Back up into the upper 20s. That's not too bad. And we'll stay in the 20s for the upcoming weekend. Clouds come back on Sunday. A little clipper system races by Sunday late into Monday, giving us a little light snow, a few inches out of that. And that will drag down Arctic air. Now, how deep that Arctic air penetrates into the northern plains will play a big part on the next storm, which would come the middle and end of next week, because that looks to be a pretty big one where it's going to throw a lot of moisture up and over the Arctic air. Now, if this Arctic air gets a little deeper south and wins the battle, then most of the, well, we'll say heavier snowfall will occur down into South Dakota, Nebraska, and Minnesota. So we'll kind of wait and see how that pans out. We're getting all indications now that this will hit areas of both North and South Dakota. So I don't think the Arctic air is going to be that deep in terms of driving southward, but I do think after that storm passes, then we're going to get a quick punch of Arctic air. Shouldn't last too long, but again, that's something we'll have to kind of keep a close eye on. But yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. As you said, this is the back end of each cycle, of each LRC cycle has been stormy, where the first parts have been dry. So right on target. We're entering the back end of cycle 3, and we're turning stormy again. So, and again, mark your calendars. The stormy part of the cycle will be back in April. I believe it's the second week, right around there, 10th, 11th, something like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we'll have to deal with this back then, or again then. Hopefully by then, we're on the warm side of things, and the western part of the state can deal with the blizzards.
Well, they're not going to want to hear that, Dean. Come on now.
Moisture. That's what I'm thinking.
And when were you saying that go ahead, Bridgette.
That just brings us into calving season, so we'll talk about that when it gets a little bit closer.
But
right. What you got, Justin?
Right. When were you saying that storm next week looks like it's going to be rolling into the area, Dean?
Looks like Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Looks like Wednesday.
Oh, that's funny.
Why is that funny?
Oh, our calendar has Wednesday, Thursday of next week circled for a possible storm system.
How's that? I did have an email, and so with yesterday's or last night and today's blizzard, I had an emailer say, was last night's storm considered
a bomb cyclone? What's a bomb cyclone? I don't even know what to do. If there was a snowstorm or a blizzard, I would know what to do. But what do I do in a bomb cyclone?
So the quick answer to that is no. Just because it's a blizzard doesn't mean it's a bomb cyclone. They can be very similar, and they can go hand in hand. But a bomb cyclone is considered when an area of low pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. So this wasn't quite that, but it definitely packed a strong punch. Not in terms of moisture, but definitely in terms of wind.
My buddy lives down in the Twin Cities area, and when the center of the low passed, or near the center of the low passed over his house, he sent me a picture of his barometer. It was 980 millibars.
That's pretty deep. Yeah, that's a very strong.
A good little low.
That's a good, very good little low, no doubt about it. Oh man! Hey, guess what time it is?
I think it's about 1:17 in the afternoon on this Wednesday. That means that we're going to be heading to get our guest all signed up with us today. And our guest that'll be joining us, that is Jason Dows from the Hope, North Dakota Fire Department. We're going to be talking about some dangers that happen on the farm and a grain bin rescue. So if you'd like to join in on our conversation, ask any questions during the interview or at any period during our show, feel free to pick up that phone call, 701-293-9000. Again, that phone number for those watching on Facebook or YouTube on the screen, 701-293-9000. Or you can always reach us via email at weatherorag@flagfamily.com. Stay tuned, because Weather and Ag in Focus will be right back.
What do you call a place in Moorhead that's known for delicious lunch specials, soups, and appetizers? Made from scratch every day? We call it Midtown Tavern. And you can enjoy those apps for half price during their late night happy hour, 9 to close. Plus, get $1 off domestic tabs. You can also save $1 on domestic taps weekdays 3 to 6. That's $1 off all size domestic taps every Monday through Friday 3 to 6 and 9 to close. With all tap beer and root beer served in a frosty mug. That's Midtown Tavern, Highway 10 East in Moorhead.
Your business has storage, but not nearly enough. You need Dakota Storage Products. They'll utilize the space you already have. They're the experts in loading docks, pallet racks, cabinets, bins, and warehouse ladders, even industrial shelving for bankers' boxes and your year-end files. They've helped businesses and farmers in the region make storage space smart by helping your storage space fit your needs. Go to DakotaStorageProducts.com. Dakota Storage Products, helping you store stuff smart.
Oil and natural gas help provide the things our counties and communities need. Taxes paid by the oil and natural gas industry fund schools, roads, and flood protection across North Dakota. That means we can run our farms and businesses and educate leaders for our future. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Can you imagine a stress-free Sunday with family, friends, fun, and great food? You can have it when you make Barron's your new Sunday brunch headquarters. I'm telling you, it's a brunch like no other. First of all, customizable waffle bar. The kids will love it. Fresh scrambled eggs, thick cut bacon, all your favorites. Plus, while Mama sips on a mimosa, the kids can wear themselves out in the arcade at Kingpins. It's a great start to a stress-free Sunday. Mention My Brunch Headquarters and receive 20% off Sunday brunch at Barron's. So make your Sunday stress-free, filled with great food, no cleanup, and most importantly, where family, friends, fun, and food come together for brunch at Barron's. Located off Highway 81 and 52nd Avenue within Kingpins. Go to brunchatbarons.com. That's brunchatbarons.com for details. And don't forget to mention My Brunch Headquarters for 20% off. And experience your stress-free Sunday at brunchatbarons.com today.
They'll have you laughing right along with them. They're Bonnie and Friends.
There are 13 animal shapes. Do you know any of them?
Elephant, lion, bear. That's about all I got going on.
Okay. You're probably right.
Oh, you don't even know?
No, I don't know.
I love when he asks me questions, but he doesn't know the answer, and he's like trying to test me, and he's like counting on his fingers.
I would think like a dog and a cat.
There's no dogs and cats and animal practice.
Giraffe?
There is a giraffe, yep.
Bonnie and Friends. Catch them weekday mornings beginning at 5.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director, happily joining our crack meteorology team today, Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm, Meteorologist Extraordinaire. And today is going to be a great day as far as I'm concerned for bringing in a guest. They're all fun, but this is one that really touches near and dear to our farm community. And we have with us Jason Dows. Jason is from the Hope, Galesburg, Colgate, Erie, Western Cass County, Eastern Steele County, North Dakota area. Jason farms out there. Also, he is active with the local fire department. And the reason I got a hold of Jason was they had a little bit of a concern, if you will, last fall when they got the call about a neighbor in a grain bin. And so, Jason, would you care to introduce yourself and kind of set up what happened that day for our listeners? I think Jason can hear us. I hope Jason can hear us because I can see him. So we're going to get Jason back on the line. So, are you there?
Hello, are you guys there?
Just went.
There we go.
Yay, I can hear him. That's awesome. All right.
Shoot.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Are we in a good location? I have. Good afternoon. I'm Jason Dows here. I'm with the Page Fire Department, also farm in the Page area. We got a call, I forget what time of the day it was, individual trapped in a grain bin. That's all we knew, and we responded along with the Hope Fire Department.
So when you get the call,
I guess to expand on that, you know, Hope there was.
Yeah, tell us more. I mean, when you got that call and it came in from Hope and you guys were called out from Page to be of assistance, what's your plan? How does that work with mutual aid, that type of thing?
Well, I guess as far as, how it works, mutual aid, when they're first on scene and it's in their district, they are in charge of the scene, and we are there to help and do whatever we need to do. When we got there, they were in charge. They told us what to do. Eventually, I got in the grain bin and kind of helped with a lot of the inside activities. Well, their fire chief from Hope was in charge of all outside activities. Is kind of what we did and how we handled the situation.
And Jason, how do you prepare and train for something like this? I mean, is there any, what kind of training? I mean, you hope to never get that call, but obviously you have to go through some training, and how does that come into play when you actually go out on these rescues?
And I
We're
think
waiting
we might have lost him again.
Lost Jason. Okay. Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna hope that we get Jason back. We owe him big because he's busy hauling grain today. It looks like he's in the semi, so he was trying to take some time to visit with us. And some of the questions we might want to be asking Jason when he comes back are, what's going on outside that bin versus inside that bin. And for those who have our video stream, you're going to be able to see the fact that we have what those tubes look like, right? Grain. A lot of fire departments have been able through grants to be able to buy these tubes that you push into the grain around your victim in order to remove the pressure off that person so you can extract them from the grain. And that's one of the tools they get to use. But I'm curious, what are all the things that are happening? Because you really can't just knock the bin over or punch a hole in it, because that pressure can also hurt that individual who's still trapped in there. So there's kind of a lot of things going on when it comes to these rescues. And also, North Dakota soybean growers has been very prominent in granting these rescue tubes to area fire departments. So that's really another thing that happens with our commodity groups in making sure that our fire departments are helped out when it comes to buying some of this equipment. So that can be a big help as well. So just a couple of things that we're going to be able to think about. While we're getting Jason back on the line, we might have to just go to phone with Jason versus video. And doing that, couple of headlines for folks that are listening. One of them is, get your Google fingers ready. So Justin and Dean, you're going to want to go look this up. The Big Bud tractors are back to production. They're a tractor that was built out in Montana starting in this 1969 into the 80s. And there is an equipment company out there by the name of Big Equipment in Havre, and they are partnering with Rome Plow Company of Cedartown, Georgia. And when I say they're building a great big tractor, these are big articulating four-wheel drives. They have a lot of horsepower to them. They're built on 1.5 inch frames. They have Caterpillar engines, transmissions, axles. They're built like mining equipment. So they're built for the long haul. They're going to be there for quite some time. They have tires that are 8 feet tall, 37.5 inches wide. They're going to last more than 18,000 hours. So if you're looking for large horsepower that's easy to work on because the cabs flip back, and then also like the radiator, the engine, et cetera, is actually on slides that pulls out so it's more accessible for someone to work on it, whether you're a farmer or a mechanic, the Big Buds are built for you. They're pretty neat tractors. So take a look at those. They're very cool. Really, really looking forward to it. My dad was a big fan of the Big Buds, so I can't wait until I see one roll off the production line again. Yeah,
I'll have to go look those up. I've never heard of them before. What do you say they were? Big Bud tractors?
Big Bud, yes, they are very cool. If you haven't seen one yet, I got to see one of their tires at least when I was at the Farm Progress Show down in Iowa this year. So they are a pretty neat machine. And again, a lot of horsepower, but also that ability to work on them. They don't have a tremendous amount of electronics in that tractor. Really, it's a mechanic's dream at that point, trying to be able to get that tractor to be used on a farm. So it's pretty cool.
And until we get Jason, if we can get Jason back on the line here, I guess we're having trouble with that. How much weight, Bridgette, do you know, is if somebody gets trapped in a grain bin, how much weight is that on them, and how long do they have to survive in there before rescue crews can hopefully get them out?
For the most part, that pressure per square inch on a person, I can go look it up for us, but it's pretty extensive. I mean, you're looking at a crushing injury for someone who's been trapped in a grain bin because you have all that pressure of the grain. And for an adult, it can be under 10 seconds that it can really pull you in, almost like a quicksand situation. So it's really recommended that people make sure that they are using a harness and any other possible safety devices if they have to go in a bin, so that someone is able to extract you if you get caught in the grain flow. So that's also important too, is, what are the things that you can be doing? Fire departments are so well trained in the region to plan for these, because unfortunately, a lot of times it's not a good outcome by the time you get someone out of a bin.
And I guess we've got Jason.
Like a suffocation.
Yeah, we've got Jason back on the line. Jason, are you there?
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. So my question to you before we lost signal there was, what kind of training and prep do you do? Obviously, you hope never to have that call for a rescue, but what kind of training do you guys go through to be able to rescue somebody out of these grain bins when these accidents occasionally happen?
So, we've been lucky enough over the years to have the rescue tubes, and we try to do a training every other year with them. And we actually go up to our local elevator. We pull a semi in up over top of their dump. We fill the semi full of corn, and then we actually controlled, we suck somebody down into the corn, say just past their waist. And then everybody works with the tubes, learns how to use them, and actually we work at getting that person back out. It's, training that you think, well, at the point, is this really worth it? But in the heat of the moment, it really makes a difference.
Now, if somebody gets trapped in there, and I asked Bridgette, and I'll ask you as well, how long do they have to survive in there before either being crushed or suffocated? How long do they have before you can get to them and help?
I wish I could honestly answer that question with a true time. I think everybody in that situation would be different. It all depends on your body type, how you've how far are you sucked under, there's just so many factors. I don't know if I can give you an honest answer on that.
So this is pretty awesome. Just the fact that you're able to take the time with us, Jason, we really appreciate it. And when we come back, we're at the bottom of the hour at 1:30. When we come back, want to ask, when you mentioned that there are activities going on outside the bin versus what's going on inside. And I'm going to ask you to describe that for us. We're going to do that when we come back right after this.
Don't miss Ashley's President's Day preview sale going on now. This week only, beat the crowds and get early access to the best President's Day deals, including 10% off trending styles throughout the store and online. And with special financing options available for all budgets, refreshing your home has never been easier. Hurry into your local Ashley store or visit ashley.com to shop and save today. Only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store, Ashley. See store or ashley.com for details.
Ew, the toilet sneeze. Every flush spews bacteria onto surfaces that little Bobby touches and then spreads to the light switch and everywhere else in the house. Yuck. So Dad uses Microban 24 to help stop the spread. It's the only sanitizing spray with a long-lasting shield that keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria on surfaces for up to 24 hours. Be confident you're protecting your family with Microban 24. Don't just sanitize it, Microban it.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
Does the air in your home feel stuffy? Does it have that musty smell? Have you ever noticed moisture near the corners of your floor or water seeping into your egress windows? At Precision Concrete Cutters, Ramjack North, we know firsthand the stress that the spring thaw can have on your home.
Don't wait. Contact your complete foundation experts, Precision Concrete Cutters, at 701-280-7038. Or for a free estimate, and to learn more, go to pccnd.com.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing pain, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or are experiencing pain or numbness in your feet, pick up the phone and call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7545. Again, that's 701-929-7545. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. Eventually, it leads to balance problems, falls, complete loss of independence, and it can lead to amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start experiencing relief from neuropathy symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-929-7545. Call us today at Dakota Clinic of Chiropractic at 701-929-7545 today.
Big news from Newsmax. AT&T's DirecTV censorship of Newsmax continues. AT&T owns DirecTV, and they continue carrying 22 liberal news channels, but just canceled Newsmax. With OAN gone, that's 2 conservative channels AT&T has removed in the past year. Newsmax is the 4th highest rated cable news channel, with great hosts like Greg Kelly, Chris Salcido, Rob Schmidt, Mike Huckabee, and more. Now millions of DirecTV subscribers can't watch them on Newsmax. Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, and former President Trump urge you to cancel DirecTV and AT&T services. Stand up for free speech. Call AT&T and DirecTV now. Call toll-free 877-NEWSMAX and we'll connect you to DirecTV. If you oppose censorship and support Newsmax, you can also call 877-NEWSMAX. We'll tell you how you can help. Dr. Ben Carson says our freedoms are at stake. He says stand up against AT&T for Newsmax. Call 877-NEWSMAX today.
Welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm. And we are joined today by Jason Dows. Jason is with the Page, North Dakota Fire Department. He was part of a response team that went out to a grain bin entrapment back in December. And Jason has joined us on the line, and we really, really appreciate you taking time to do that today, Jason. The question I have for you before we went to our break was, when you see what's going on, when you get that phone call, you mentioned that there are operations outside the bin versus what's going on inside the bin. Can you explain those two things? What's happening when you're trying to do a grain bin rescue?
Well, I mean, inside and outside operations, granted, have to work very well together. We'll just kind of start on the outside operations. The person that's in charge out there, they're in charge of communicating on the inside with the people on the inside. Also in charge of opening, the bin up in different locations to get the grain drained away from the individual trapped inside the bin. They're also, in charge of, besides just getting those openings away, you have to have people to get that grain out farther away from the bin too. And along with that, also EMS personnel on the outside waiting to do their job. It's quite a task, and the people that are there doing that job are remarkable of what they can do. The people on the inside, of course, we were on the inside. We're working on getting the rescue tubes placed around the individual and down around the individual, along with getting the corn out and away from the individual. Luckily, by the time I got there, the person's head was above the corn again, so that was a relief, and that person was talking to us. It's kind of a miracle that that person was in that state yet by the time we got there. I guess I'm kind of trying to, remember the day as we're sitting here visiting what all happened. It's what you'd almost call organized chaos, but yet in the end, everybody knows their job and just performs it.
Right. And when those are happening, Jason, a lot of people would think just run over there with a payloader and punch a hole and knock that out so that person could come sliding out with the grain. Why is it you wouldn't want to do that?
Certain situations, that's not the best, reasoning or best option, because you can actually suck that person farther down into the grain bin and trap them even deeper than they may be at the present moment. In this situation,
and keep the less grain
that bin
from coming
did
down
get broke open by a piece of farm machinery. but they knew where the individual was at, and that's why that happened that day. But in most situations, that's usually not your best option. You need to get in the top of the bin, get down in there, and figure out where that person is at before you really just start cutting holes randomly.
And Jason, how often does this occur around our area? Is this like a frequent thing that happens, or of the uncommon accidents that happen, is this one of the uncommon ones that happen more often than others?
You know, I guess for me individually in our department, this is the first one we've ever been on as far as an entrapment. I've been on the department probably 25 years now, and this is my first one. We do have an individual that was on the Hope Fire Department who was originally a Devil's Lake firefighter for a few years too, and I think he told me this was his second or third instance. So it's not real common, but the days that it does happen, we want to be prepared and ready for whatever does present itself.
And Jason, when these accidents do occur, is this a lack of knowing what to do? Is it a lack of sleep, like just not being aware? Or are there, we had an emailer asking, are there any harnesses or any safety equipment that they can wear to kind of prevent this?
Well, that would be your number one thing, is having some safety equipment. You know, on our farm here, every time I go into a bin, I try to have a safety harness on with a rope tied off to the ladder. That way, if something does freakishly happen and I do go under, at least people know where I'm at and hopefully can get to me. Yes, that would be your best instance. You know, to speak on what truly ever really happens in these situations, I don't think you really know unless you're the one that's there. And things can happen so quick and so fast that sometimes it's tough to be prepared for everything, other than try to do what you can to be as safe as you can with harnesses and be tied off to a location, you know, for safety.
Right. And I've heard
Jason,
before.
We probably have some listeners who are wondering why you're in the bin in the first place, and why would the grain actually suck you in? So can you give a little bit of a description of that, as why as a farmer you might need to enter that bin?
You know, sometimes the biggest reason as a farmer you might have to enter that bin is, you know, if you've had a storm and a bunch of snow has gotten blown in the top of your bins, and you end up, you know, with ice chunks, and those ice chunks will fall down in around the center pits or the center sumps of those bins and plug stuff up. And so, you know, sometimes maybe you're going in there with a long steel rod or something, trying to break that chunk up to get it out of your way. You know, I guess other situations, to be in there, you're maybe just in checking the quality of your grain, you know, if you have, you know, just to see what things are like and make sure it's keeping okay too.
And I've heard before that you fall in and you start getting pulled under or whatnot, you shouldn't just wrap a rope around somebody or pull them out by their harness, get something and just with a piece of machinery and just pull them straight out. Why may that be a bad idea to do something like that for someone who is stuck in one of these situations, Jason?
Well, in those situations, there is so much pressure of the grain around them. If you try to do that, you are physically going to injure them and hurt them severely, and could even dramatically hurt them, is the situation. And, you know, from some of the training we've done, I think firsthand, if you've ever been sucked down into grain, just the pressure that it puts on your body and your ability not to even move, it's unbelievable. In our trainings, I have been sucked down into the grain. I've been sucked down into, say, just about my middle of my chest. And then the guys worked to get me out. And, you know, they were all standing there and watched me get sucked down in. And I was talking to them the whole time. And it was unbelievable by the time they got me out, which wasn't that long, how out of breath I was just from the pressure of the corn compressing on me.
Wow.
Right. If you could describe what that pressure, that feeling, and even in, you know, a controlled situation, what was going through your mind during that trial exercise? What was that like?
You know, it's been a few years, so I can't really remember what was going through my mind completely. You know, I was probably talking to our guys as much as anything, because I was the most trained at that time as far as what to do. And so I kind of remember talking to our guys, hey, do this, do that to get me out. But in the back of your mind, feeling that pressure and kind of realizing you're starting to get a little short of breath, I think the biggest thing to remember is relax, breathe. That will help you, just to stay calm too.
Right. And we were just kind of touching on, don't pull somebody out if they get sucked into one of these grain bins. What would you say for, like, this happens, it's going to take time for someone to get out there to help you? What is something that someone could do, or if someone is there with them, what is something that they could do to help or to wait it out until the rescue team arrives?
Biggest thing is talk to them, be calm, talk to them. It may be even as simple as, what's the temperature out today? Just talk to them. It's amazing by talking to people how much calmer you can keep them. If you have the ability to, if they're still above the corn or above the grain and visiting with you, even if you have like a garbage can or anything, put it over top of them, so then it will keep the grain from flowing down over top of them to cover them up completely. And then just, be patient and wait for the rescuers to get there, and they will get there as quick as they can. And it feels like an eternity when you're waiting, but just be patient and they will get there.
Jason, do you think it makes a difference if you're in a bin of corn or soybeans or wheat, how quickly you can be swamped into that grain, or it's all very much the same? Do you know if there's any difference in between those crops?
Boy, I wish I could honestly speak on that. Bridged up grain is
Sure.
bridged up grain. I can't imagine that, any of those three crops would be a lot different, but I can't 100% speak on that either.
Sure. No, that's fair. And, I think about grain bins, and as a kid cleaning out bins, right? So there was just stuff on the ground, and, you had a door open at the bottom. Maybe the top opening was open. You could get some sunlight, and it's still kind of dark and dingy in there. So really, as a fireman, when you're inside that grain bin with the person who's stuck in the grain, it's not exactly an easy place to work, because you could get sucked in. It's pretty dark to see what you're doing. All of those factors into what you're doing at that point to try to help the other person out, right?
Very true, very true. There's so many factors that go in, and your whole focus is trying to get that person out, but you need to focus on keeping your own rescue personnel safe at the same time. And the lighting is definitely a factor. It's dark in there, and when it's dark in that, you need to slow down and take your time too, so you don't do something that will have a detriment effect on the whole situation too.
Well, and it also, you're in a small town area, you're out in Western Cass County. We all know our neighbors out there. We know each other. And so when that call comes in, it probably is an even more of a panic, because the farm, you might know who's in the bin. Does that weigh in on any of your decisions as you're going to that rescue?
No, it really can't weigh in on your decision making. You are responding to an unfortunate situation, and the biggest thing, you just have to stay calm, do your job, and there will be times to reflect and think about things after the fact. But in that situation, you just have to rely on your training, do what you need to do, and try to stay as calm as you can, and work through the situation. It's an ever-changing situation when you're involved in those things too. Things changed for us by the minute, by the second, on what we needed to do too. It was a very interesting experience to be a part of, but not something that I ever would really wish upon anybody though either.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as we have our last couple of minutes here, Jason, so you've been on the fire department for some time over in Page, and any plug you want to give for folks for volunteering or getting involved in those instances? How many years have you been on the department, and why are the things that you do it?
I've been on, I think we're pushing 25 years now since I've been on. I guess a lot of the people that do respond, whether or not you're on fire, whether or not you're on an EMS side of things, I think a lot of people do it just because they feel, a strong connection to their community and their surrounding area, and they want to be able to help people. And bottom line, if you're living in one of these small communities or in any area where you have the opportunity to do it and you think it's something you want to do, reach out to that ambulance crew, reach out to that fire department. Everybody's always looking for people that are willing to help no matter the situation.
Jason Dows with the Page, North Dakota Fire Department. I cannot say thank you enough for taking time out of your day You might have been moving snow, you might have been hauling grain yourself, but thank you for taking time to join us to talk about bin entrapments. I greatly appreciate it. I owe you one. And for those of you who are listening, please stick with us. We're going to catch up on markets with the American Ag Network, and then we'll be back right after that.
Attention business owners, did you know that burglary and theft in Fargo is nearly 2 times higher than the national average? Walmart recently said that if theft doesn't slow down, they'll have to raise prices and shut down stores. Target projects they'll lose $600 million in net profits this year due to theft. As a business owner, you need to protect your business and your profits. You need a security solution. And right now, for a limited time only, 702 Communications is offering business security solutions that will protect you, your business, your employees, and your profits. To find out if you qualify for a 702 Communications business security solution, call right now at 218-304-8676. Again, that's 218-304-8676. Imagine the peace of mind you'll have knowing that your security solution is monitoring your business 24/7, 365. That peace of mind is priceless. So call now at 218-304-8676. Again, 218-304-8676.
Why do we see so many Subarus on the roads around us? Because drivers trust Subaru's safety and reliability. According to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com, Subaru is the most trusted brand for 8 years running. Claim one of our incoming new all-wheel drive Subaru models, and you could be enjoying that reliability sooner. Muscatel Subaru, located just off the interstate in Moorhead, or online at muscatelsubaru.com. Subaru, built to last.
Comfort King, wake up!
I don't want to, Night-Night.
You must! The Knights of the Round Mattress have assembled to address the foreign mattress invaders.
Yes, box beds and foam mattresses have infected the kingdom, causing poor sleep for too many of our citizens.
They've been tricked into buying beds without even laying on them. It's madness!
If only they knew that Honorable Comfort King makes the world's best mattress and comes with a soft spot warranty and a lifetime comfort guarantee.
Comfort King Mattress Factory for queens and kings.
And peasants too.
Markets mostly lower on the day Wednesday. You're listening to the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this closing market update. Well, the grain and oilseed prices saw negative money flow on the day on Wednesday. Livestock trade mostly as well to the downside. Bean oil, feeder cattle, the only markets that really had any positive momentum to them on the day. The bean oil market recovering after NOPA reported 179 million bushels were crushed in January, down from the year-ago volume and below expectations. Bean oil stocks as of January 31st reported at 1.83 billion pounds, down close to 10% from 1 year ago. Overall, though, these markets, a lot of the issue was a higher U.S. dollar index on the day on Wednesday, contributing to mostly just a risk-off day across all commodities and the stock market. Livestock, I mentioned feeder cattle were higher, but overall, cash country remains quiet, and the hog market taking a little bit of profit with April taking over as lead month futures on the day Wednesday. Final numbers on Wednesday. Cord for March down 676 at a quarter. December new crop down 2.5, 595 at a quarter. March beans down 11 3/4, 1525 and 3/4. November beans 8 lower, 1375. Bean meal for March was down $9.90 a ton, $4.90, $1.10. Bean oil for March up 84 points, $61.24. March Chicago wheat down 16 3/4, $7.69 and a quarter. July was down 14 1/4, $7.85 and a quarter. March KC wheat down 11 1/2, $8.94 and a half. July down 11 at $8.70. Spring wheat for March 8 1/2 lower, $9.23 and a half. July spring wheat down 7 3/4 at $9.09. February live cattle up 40, $162.55. April down 7, $164.60. Feeder cattle for March up 67, $187.32. April down, or 25 higher, $191.15. April hogs down 75, $86.50. May hogs down 35 and $95.70. This is the American Ag Network.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us on this Wednesday afternoon. 1:51 WDAY time, 6 degrees outside of the FM Metro. And we just got done speaking with Jason Dows from the Hope and Bridgette, help me out here. I just spaced on it.
That's okay. It was Jason Dows, and Jason was with the Page, North Dakota Fire Department as we talked about grain bin rescues, because we do have some entrapments. They happen from time to time. They're not necessarily frequent, but we did have a rash of them here a couple winters ago, and a lot of that was because grain was falling out of quality. We had harvested our corn when it was wet. It was bridging up, getting stuck together, creating big chunks within a bin. And so that was the problem. And farmers needed to go in there to try to knock those bins, those big chunks loose. And that's when a lot more of our grain entrapment can indeed happen. So really appreciate Jason as a farmer and a volunteer fire department member taking the time to visit with us. So thanks to him for doing that.
And since we were just talking about grain and grain bins, let's touch on one of our ag topics here, and it's sensing your grain. Bridgette, what is sensing your grain?
Well, so John Deere has a new item coming out in their newer combine called Harvest Lab 3000. This is a grain sensor for their S700 series, and this is going to be their machines that are from 2018 or newer. This option with the sensor is going to help farmers precisely document the harvest as their grain quality is recorded at every point in the field. So as the grain's flowing through its auger, it's going to push past this infrared sensor, and it's going to be able to tell when it comes to small grains or canola what the protein might be, what your oil yield could be. Why is this information important to a farmer? Well, for those folks who need to know what's going on with their protein, because it can be at premium, same with their oil premiums on canola, that's important information. And additionally, that's all information uploaded into your monitors in the cab. You can see better parts of the field, better quality, areas where perhaps you have to think about changing your fertilizer recommendation for the coming year, etc. All items that you can be using to your benefit when it comes to harvest and then also for planting intentions for the following year. So yeah, this is going to be from John Deere. It's called Harvest Lab 3000 grain sensing. It'll be going on their newer combines.
I see. And how do you do it now? How are you able to, or what's the process into finding out what that oil content is in your soybean or the protein levels? And how does this technology, what is that going to change moving forward compared to what we're doing right now to do it?
So I'm going to take you back in time to when I was a kid, and if you're farming with like a John Deere 7700, you had to wait until you were done combining. You got the grain sample off the machine, and then you would take it to the elevator, and they would have to test it for you to tell you where your protein ran, what your moisture levels were, etc. Now we're finding ways to be able to do it a little bit more effectively right on the machines, and that saves you some time. So for instance, knowing what you've got for a protein level, if you've got to make changes, et cetera, that all matters. If you've got a high protein and you need a lower protein, do I need to bin this and blend it off later on to change, what I have as an overall average, et cetera. But you're right, this is something that we just have to use to do in sort of a long form versus having these sensors now that we can actually have on our combines. And not everybody's going to have it, right? These are going to be newer machines. So some of the older ones, we're still going to rely on the things we've always done.
And are other companies doing something similar to this, or do they have some form of technology that kind of does this too? Or is John Deere kind of ahead of the game when it comes to this grain sensing?
Well, John Deere is pretty much rolling out a lot of new options in their equipment as of late. This is one. And then if you remember, we also talked about their exact shot, which is on planters if you're doing a starter fertilizer, and it's putting the exact amount of fertilizer right at the seed in furrow when you're planting. That's not necessarily newest technology. There's been other companies and planters that have done very much the same thing, but John Deere is now offering it as an option on their equipment as well. And let's face it, John Deere's got some pretty big brand recognition to go along with what they're doing. When they make an announcement like they did at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, folks pay attention to what's going on. So you can see overall in the ag industry, more attention is being paid to what we do. And as technology continues to advance, we're going to, in fact, continue to hear about these things. And you know what? It's nice to see some of the changes that are coming along. We see changes in automation and so many other industries. Now they are happening in one that we romanticize a little bit about being part of the upper Midwest and how we generally farm.
And speaking about tech and technology, is there a tech meltdown to come into agriculture?
So remember what happened when Southwest had pretty much a giant fumble back in December where they were canceling flight after flight? Well, let's remember that those things can happen in other industries as well. Recent surveys show that only 62% of farmers are using a record-keeping or records and management type program. The majority are probably using, or not, shouldn't say the majority, but a smaller minority, about 40-some percent, are using paper and pen or an Excel spreadsheet. And so they're maybe not using some of that available technology. Can that be a problem down the road for them as we've seen the need for more and more of it? Well, it could be, but we're going to have to watch to see if we make any of those changes, because technology is going to continue to advance, and this is an industry where that'll happen in leaps and bounds.
I see. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Bridgette. In our last about a minute and a half here, let's recap on that forecast. We had gusts of 66 miles an hour last night here in Fargo and 50 to 60 miles an hour around the area. Well, are there more windy conditions in the region that are going to be coming up in the next couple of days? And how about our chances for snow?
Well, I'll tell you what, Justin, chances of winds to that magnitude, not in the short term, that's for sure. Winds are dying down this afternoon, currently about 20 to 25 out there, and we'll continue to back off on those winds. So the blowing snow issue really starting to wind down now, which means improved travel as we head through the afternoon and evening. Cold one tonight, and temperatures after dipping below zero tonight, single digits to around 12 above tomorrow. And then we're in the 20s. Wind returns on Friday out of the southwest, and that means warmer temperatures. We'll warm up into the 20s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a little break, and then a clipper system brings some snow in here, it looks like Sunday night into Monday. But a larger system looks to be impacting the area as we head into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. I just took a look at our latest European model and our American models, and they're both in pretty good agreement of bringing some more measurable snow in here by the middle and end of next week, and that's right on target on our LRC calendar for another potential bigger storm system coming our way. So let's enjoy the break after last night's blizzard. That'll do it today for Weather and Ag in Focus. For Bridgette, for Justin, and myself, I want to thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Now, the Jay Thomas Show.
WDAY AM and